Don't forget to feed Bruiser because today we're going on a flight. The flight of the Navigator on Garage Movie Reviews. Compliance. Hello and welcome to Garage Movie Reviews. My name is Levi, the Garage Movie Guy, and I'm taking you through my entire collection of movies, which is in boxes in my garage. And today we're going back in time 30 years in the past. I remember when I was a kid and we got a VHS player. I was amazed by this thing. I watched a lot of TV as a kid, and this thing was a game changer. You could record things and watch them again. And I remember we went crazy recording movies off TV. And one time that we recorded movies a lot was Sunday evenings on the Disney Sunday Movie. One evening in January 1988, I didn't know my childhood was gonna change forever when Flight of the Navigator, Part 1, came on. It actually was split up into two parts. I remember this because we watched the first week, and the first week ends with the main character getting into a spaceship. What? Okay, and then what? We had to come back for the second half, and I came back over and over and over because we had it on VHS. Now let's get into the plot. The movie stars Joey Kramer as David Freeman, a young man who falls into a ravine in the woods outside of his house. When he crawls out of the ravine and goes home, he finds the people living there aren't his family.
Where's my mom and dad?
When he is finally reunited with his family, he finds that 8 years have passed, and he hasn't aged one day. Meanwhile, a strange, shiny floating object is found and reported to NASA. Since his fall in the ravine, David has been hearing garbled voices. He can't quite make out what they're saying. And some of the tests they did on him revealed that he has some special knowledge about this ship that NASA found. When they get wind of it, they ask to do some tests on him.
I can offer you the truth. All I need is 48 hours.
While at NASA, David makes friends with Caroline, played by Sarah Jessica Parker in one of her first film roles.
Is there anything else you want when I come back?
How about a Big Mac, large fries, and a Coke? They're still around, I hope.
Well, now that all depends. Do you want new Coke, classic Coke, cherry Coke, Diet Coke, or caffeine-free Coke?
Huh?
Nothing, forget it.
On his move to NASA, the voices become a little bit clearer. At one point, they tell him to get into Ralph, the
Robotic Assistant Labor Facilitator.
who then takes him to the hangar where the spaceship is being held. It's at this point that Disney Sunday Movie asked us to come back next week. Of course we did, because we didn't want to miss the adventures of David and his alien friend Max, who has a very distinctive laugh.
See you later, alligator.
Paul Rubens provided the voice of Max. You probably know him better as Pee Wee Herman. Apparently, he didn't want his name to bring attention away from the rest of the movie, so he asked to be put in the movie under a pseudonym, Paul Mall. Now we get to the really fun part of the movie. Max and David don't necessarily hit it off in the beginning, but there's a point in the movie where Max has to take some information from David's head, and once he does that, he accidentally downloads a little bit of David's personality, and that's when Max really comes to life.
That's it?
That's it, Davey.
Davy?
If you want to learn to swim, you've got
Gotta jump in the water. Don't forget to feed Bruiser.
He starts making jokes and talking more like Pee Wee Herman,
Well, excuse me.
something that I imitated a lot as a kid and probably my parents hated. But from this point on, the movie becomes a super fun and endearing buddy movie between a kid and an artificially intelligent ship from outer space. And as an 8-year-old, how could I not like that? The director of the film, Randall Kleiser, brought in his brother, Jeffrey Kleiser, as the digital effects supervisor. And this movie does have some cutting-edge special effects. This was the first time in a 35mm film that environmental mapping was put on a 3D object, and what that means is the spaceship is very shiny, and whatever is around it reflects back at the camera. This was the first time that was done, and I think it was done pretty well. 30 years later, the effect still looks good. The soundtrack was cutting edge as well. It was created completely digitally in a synclavier. This was one of the earliest digital multi-track samplers. And the score was written by the prolific film composer Alan Silvestri. His work includes The Abyss, The Bodyguard, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Mario Brothers movie. Well, no one's perfect. But he has worked with Robert Zemeckis a lot, including creating the Back to the Future soundtrack, which is one of my favorite movie soundtracks of all time. Like the special effects, I think the soundtrack kind of stands the test of time as well, because Alan Silvestri has a way of ratcheting up the tension when he needs to, but also having this sort of mischievous, playful effect when Max and David are sort of becoming buddies. And overall, I just think it's a good soundtrack. Two names were left completely off the credit list, and that was Frank Welker, who provided the voice of Bruiser the dog, as well as all the aliens, including the cute little Puckmarin. And for those unfamiliar with animation, if you're ever watching something that's animated and an animal makes a noise, it's probably Frank Welker. Another voice actor that didn't get credit in the movie was Corey Burton. He voiced the Ralph unit. He's done many Disney characters, including Dale of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Professor Von Drake, and he's also voiced Brainiac in many incarnations of the Justice League. If you haven't guessed by now, I love this movie, and watching it now, I like it as much as I ever did. And one thing I like is the humor. The humor is very much dad humor, but the thing is, in the 80s, we didn't call it dad humor, we just called it humor. And I liked it because I was a kid. It was goofy, it was funny, and I had fun with it. Finally, in conclusion, who should watch this movie? If you have any love for the 80s, if you watched Stranger Things and thought, yes, I've been wanting this for 30 years, and you haven't seen this movie, you should probably watch it because it has a lot of those same elements that inspired Stranger Things. If you like Chrome, there's a lot of Chrome in this movie. 80s was about Chrome. Chrome was awesome, and this ship is made of Chrome. Or if it's one of those nights you're just looking for a family-friendly sci-fi movie about time dilation, well, this is your ticket. And if you do check out the movie on my recommendation, come back here, comment down below, let me know what you thought. Did I make a good recommendation? If you saw it as a kid and you loved it as much as I did, let's talk down below. But until next time, I'm Levi, the Garage Movie Guy, saying, see you later, Navigator. I remember when we were a kid, and and compliance! Once in the Trimaxian drone ship, and I just forgot what I was gonna say. Flight of the Navigator, he's done Mizzy. See you later, Navigator.